Can't do it. We'll do it live. Okay. Do it live. I'll write it and we'll do it live.
Mister, will you please wake up?
Third down on the 8. In trouble. Got a block behind him. Gonna throw on a run. Complete to the 25. To the 30. Lindsey's got 35, 40. Lindsey's got 45, 50, 45, 40. Run, Lindsey. 25, 20, 50, 10, 5. Lindsey's got. Lindsey's got. Lindsey's got.
This is Snowman in the Morning.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. It's time for the Trip Down Thursday edition of Snowman in the Morning. Glad to have y'all with us. Snowman coming to you from Columbus, Indiana. And my partner, Cole Johnson, will be on the line shortly. Man, we got a lot to get into, including a subject that I touched on yesterday, and Chris Deeds joined me yesterday. He'll join again today during hour 2 of the College Football Express. Steph Curry is now 10 threes away from the all-time regular season record, which prompts a question. Why don't they celebrate the all-time record, regular season and playoffs, the same way they celebrate the all-time regular season record? We will get into that if you are watching via YouTube, and it's going to be exclusively on YouTube starting Monday. And if you come in, do me a favor, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, because we want to get this to 1,000 subs right after, you know what? I'll make the goal right before the new year, because people have said to me, it takes time. Oh, yeah? Well, I'm going to shorten the time. Cole Johnson is now with me from Tennessee. Good morning, sir.
Hi, good morning, sir. How are you?
I'm feeling great. How about you?
Yeah, the same. I'm actually feeling pretty good.
Why? Okay, before we get into the layout presented by Williams Hardwood Systems, I must pose this question because it's bugged the daylights out of me. Why don't they celebrate all-time records in basketball the same way they do in football? You got an answer for me for that? Because if you can celebrate Tom Brady breaking the all-time record for passing yards, regular season and playoffs, why don't they celebrate Steph Curry breaking the all-time record for three-pointers, regular season and playoffs? Why is that? that extended breath tells me everything I need to know. I love it.
Which route should I go? Should I go the pacify person route, or should I go just hit you right between the eyes route?
I'm a Mike Tyson fan and Muhammad Ali fan. Hit him right in the immortal words of Kevin Harlan, right between the eyes.
All right. The NBA seems to love to celebrate certain people breaking certain records.
Ah, that is right between the eyes. I love it.
Yeah. And they will probably celebrate people who break a certain type of record.
Yep.
So yeah, look, Stephen Curry being the most prolific three-point shooter in the history of the NBA, and beating and doing it with 600 less games than the most prolific shooter already in Ray Allen. Mm-hmm. That is extremely impressive.
I think it is. Mm-hmm. I think it is.
Mm-hmm. But that's not really a sexy record, right?
Who says? Oh, they say. Okay, I'm sorry. Mm-hmm. I hijacked. Yeah. I'm sorry.
As they say, side boom. The marks that normally get celebrated would be if a player gets to 10,000 assists or 10,000 rebounds, or I'd say probably about 30,000 points. Mm-hmm. Those are the ones you see them, they celebrate. They'll stop the game and they'll award somebody with whatever commemoration thing, whether it's a ball or a plaque or anything.
Yep.
That the record would be, or at least the milestone will be in certain cases.
Yeah. True. No argument. No argument.
Yeah.
I get it.
Look, like for me, when Olajuwon ended up becoming the all-time shot blocker, they didn't really stop the game for him, which I was like, come on, man, this is a record that should be celebrated.
It is a record that should be celebrated, especially since Olajuwon played a little something we like to call defense.
Defense. Yes. One of the greatest defenders, regardless of position, to ever play the game. You know, so in terms of Curry being now exactly where he should be, the best three-pointer ever, best three-pointer shooter ever. Yeah. All right. So you didn't really have to stop the game, but everybody already knows.
Okay. Is it that obvious? And it leads to what I'm about to say and what I have said for many years. The NBA especially is obsessed with two things: stars and stats. So since they're obsessed with stats, why don't they celebrate this one?
Okay, here we go.
Uh-oh.
If this was LeBron James, then we'll be hearing about this all night and day long.
God. And I can't argue because you went down the same road I went down.
If his greatness isn't such a factor beforehand, you have to now admire the fact that he has made the most threes in the game's history. We'd be hearing that all day long.
But because it's by a person who plays on a team, and I capitalize that word, nothing. Basically, it's nothing.
And the thing is, regular season and postseason combined, he already has the mark.
Yes. Thank you.
Yeah.
He already has that mark.
Yeah, he already has the mark. This basically is just the regular season only. So.
And it gets celebrated more than having the all-time mark?
Yeah.
Who wrote this script?
Don't know.
All right. Continuing on in the layout. Desmond Ridder is getting played to the left. I spoke about this yesterday. Chris Deeds joined me. He'll join us again at the top of the second hour. So, C.J. Stroud is on the Heisman list for one game. One.
Yeah.
Kenny Pickett, one game. And that's the ACC championship.
Right.
Desmond Ridder, 13-0. No Heisman trip. What's wrong with this picture?
Oh, well, there's nothing wrong with this because he's the quarterback for Alabama. He's the starting quarterback for Michigan.
No.
Oh, he's the starting quarterback for Georgia.
No.
The fact that he's a starting quarterback for Cincinnati, that is what sucks about this. It's as if this is the West Coast bias that they used to talk about when we were young, revisiting itself here.
Yeah, Robbie Bosco and BYU, 1984, Steve Young, 1980. I mean, come on now.
The only difference is the bias isn't because of geography.
No.
It's because of where the program is in terms of its stature with the rest of the NCAA. But I find it hilarious.
Yeah.
They don't belong to they don't belong to a Power 5 conference this year, but they will next year.
Yeah.
And watch the perception of that program change.
And
and
Dietz touched on that yesterday. Because they're not in a Power 5 conference until next year. No Heisman trip for Ridder. And I will say it again, and I know you agree with me because we talked about it before earlier in the season. He's being played to the left. He's being played
hard. He's being played hard. And the fact
all year.
And the fact that I actually saw a lot of that game they played when they were in South Bend.
Right.
It
I
was
watched
no
the whole
question. Yeah.
Desmond Ritter, when they
was-
played Notre Dame in South Bend, was the best damn quarterback. Okay.
Yeah, it was no question. He was not only the best quarterback, he was the best player on the field. There was not even a debate.
In South Bend, Indiana.
In South Bend.
In South Bend.
People were starting to talk about the Irish defense then as sort of getting their sea legs about them because they were getting run all over and passed all over early. But then once they started to play, I think it was Wisconsin, they started to have the wrap up. Okay, it looks like they right the ship. Looks like they defensively are fine.
Yeah,
they're actually scoring. You know, they're scoring.
It took
They're scoring themselves.
It took a fourth quarter for Notre Dame to pull away from Wisconsin, and that wasn't even a home game. That was at Soldier Field.
That was a neutral site game. Right.
That was a neutral site game where they ran over Wisconsin, and it took them the fourth quarter to pull away.
Right. But the perception is if Notre Dame does anything that's positive in their favor, it gets blown up. So that was what it was about when the Bearcats came visiting Touchdown Jesus, and then Ritter just basically ran all over and passed all over him that whole game. And that game
and what's crazy
should have been indicative of a Heisman Trophy moment.
Yeah, but they will never give it to him.
No.
And they, you know who should have gotten a Heisman moment 4 years ago? Mackenzie Milton.
Yep.
Mackenzie Milton.
But they weren't going to give anything Central Florida any shine.
None.
That's the same thing. 4
Years
later. with Cincinnati.
None. And it's sad that we have that us fans and analysts, the real analysts, have to jump through hoops to see the real stars get their shine. And it'll never happen as long as this system is in place. It'll never happen. And I hate that.
And what sucks about Desmond, this is his senior year.
Yep.
Now, if this was his junior year, they probably could have argued. I mean, the program could not argue, but they could have probably tried to coerce him to stay and say, you know what, your senior season will be in a Power 5 conference. We'll get a chance to be in the public eye a whole lot more than we were in years previous.
Yep.
You probably will stand a good chance of being a Heisman Trophy candidate. You might be a Heisman Trophy front runner as the season begins, but he can't say that because this is his senior year.
This is his senior year, and they're pushing him out.
Yeah,
they are pushing him out. I dare anybody to challenge me on that statement. They're pushing him out. They are pushing him out, and they're pushing Cincinnati out with the way they set it up for them, according to the committee, to get crushed by Alabama, which is why I hope Cincinnati runs over their asses.
And I knew that's how it was going to be. It was either they were wanting to have them be crushed by Alabama, or they figured that Michigan could probably handle them. In either case, the committee's number one goal was to have Alabama and Georgia
in a repeat performance.
Yeah, to be in a national championship game, and for that to happen, one could not be 2 and the other 3, and one could not be 1 or 4. So that was the first priority. The second priority was, how can we justify keeping Cincinnati number 4? Because the third scenario was out the equation. What program can we use to leapfrog over them?
Right.
Couldn't do it.
So you have 3 programs in the top 4, and we're going to discuss this later in full. 3 programs in the top 4 that have 1 loss. 3 programs, let me say it again, 3 programs in the top 4 that have 1 loss. The one that doesn't is the one that's getting shoved out.
And the 3 programs that have 1 loss is ahead of the lone program that has 0 in the loss column. I think the committee is also a bit scared of the fact that
Do you think?
I think they're a little scared of, when they used to put Notre Dame in the college football playoff, they have this wonderful season, and then all of a sudden you might have Alabama or Ohio State just simply run roughshod over them in the national semifinal.
Yep.
I'm just getting the feeling this is what the college football playoff is feeling when it comes to Cincinnati. It's like, doggone it. This might be a blowout, and it's going to suck. But
they want it to be a blowout. It's going to suck. Nothing. They want it to be a blowout. You know that. I know that. They want it to be a blowout.
But they want to prove the point that, and this is what's so funny. They want to prove the point that they're not belonging to where the big boys are, but they're going to become one of the big boys
next year.
In 9 months' time. I mean, it's hilarious, man. Oh my gosh.
And it's not fair. We finally get a group of 5 to break that glass ceiling that Boise State should have done in 2010, UCF should have done 4 years ago. BYU busted in 1984 because they were declared the national champions. BYU busted that glass ceiling in 1984, but no one wants to remember them. No one wants to remember that BYU broke that glass ceiling in 1984 when they were declared the national champions. Moving on, because we will talk all about that at the during the second hour.
Right.
A little baseball question. Where will Carlos Correa sign? I'll answer that. I think he'll stay in Houston. Why would you want to flip the script and play for the Dodgers when you enjoy whipping their asses in the playoffs anyway? I'm sorry, did I say that? And that's for my buddy Jonathan Mathis. Okay, that's for our buddy Jonathan Mathis who said we don't need a cheater. We don't need him on our squad. He's a cheater. Okay, well, since you want to go there, so was Jose Altuve, so was George Springer, so was everybody else on that 2017 squad. And yet, in 4 seasons since then, they've played clean baseball, dude.
Yeah. I mean, these are great baseball players.
I mean,
now did they cheat? Yes. Did they?
They did. Yes, they cheated and they paid their penance.
Yeah, I was gonna say, did they pay a price? Definitely.
Yes.
But this is akin, and I've said this often. This is akin to when Michael Vick was caught up in the dogfighting ring, and it wasn't the fact that he had a ring that he was put in jail. It was the fact that he was caught lying about it.
Yeah.
And so he gets put in jail, and he sits in Leavenworth for about 1.5 years. He basically loses 2 years of football life, comes back, and he goes to the Pacers in 2009 with the Eagles, and then he gets a starting position early 2010, and he takes off. When he came to the Eagles in 2009, you should have, well, you did see it, but for you youngins, you should have seen the line. It was wrapped around the block every time he was around anywhere, and it was Peter supporters saying, Vic sucks, and so do the Eagles.
I remember that. I absolutely remember that.
It's like he did something wrong. He paid the price. Why do you want to crap on him further? It makes no sense.
You know how these youngins are. You crap on somebody, you continue to crap on them. You and I get it all the time.
Yeah.
For this show and for us working together. And I don't need to explain the second part of that one.
No, but you're right, you don't. But it's a waste of their time to do something like that. So, okay, what point does it prove that you just simply call him an effing cheater? Okay, fine. Correa is an effing cheater. Okay, so you put an asterisk behind the Astros name. What does that do? Does that hurt them? No,
because they still sell out Minute Maid Park. The fans still come in. And Correa still plays baseball.
And since then, they have been to the World Series twice, so it doesn't even hurt them at all.
It really doesn't. You know why they hate Vic, and now now Hurts Cool McCain chimes in. That critical Broncos fan before him. Astros have a good farm system where they can let him walk, but I don't think they want to let him walk. I don't think they want to let Correa walk. They don't.
You're right about the farm system. It's strong. I mean, heck, that's the reason why they are perennial World Series contenders every year. One
of the top two. The other being Chicago White Sox.
Right, because Springer and Bregman and Altuve and Correa and Gurriel.
I forgot about Bregman. You're right.
Yeah,
I forgot about Bregman.
Yeah,
and Bregman, I still contend that Bregman should have been the American League MVP 2 years ago.
Yeah, he got cheated out of that.
He got cheated out of the American League MVP. It should have been Bregman. It should have been Alex Bregman. Period.
Yeah, that was his best year. So not even a question. That was his best year. But yeah, you had those guys.
Hell,
along
if
with
you
a
really
couple of pitches too.
If you really want to be serious about it, it should have been between Bregman and Springer. Y'all really want to contend with me about that? It should have been between Bregman and Springer. Period.
Yeah. So I agree. The farm system is strong with Houston, but when you have a talent like Carlos Correa, you should not let him go. You should not let him go.
And besides Correa, Altuve, and Gurriel, that whole infield, Bregman, left to right.
Yes.
Bregman, Correa, Altuve, and Gurriel.
Yeah.
That whole infield, left to right.
Easily the most potent infield Houston's ever had.
The most potent.
Easily.
And I will biasly say Chicago's not far behind them. I will biasly say Chicago's not far behind them. And why do I say that? Have y'all seen them play? When they get this lockout stuff right, and I'm praying they do soon, because I'm sick and tired of work stoppages in sports, man. It's supposed to be our escape for 3 hours. And it hasn't been for a while.
Yeah, but when you have millionaires and billionaires fighting over pieces of pie, this is what exists.
Yeah, I know. That's our layout presented by Williams Hardwood Specialist. Quality you can stand on. This portion of the show brought to you by Jaguar Land Rover of South Shore. Give them a call at 219-245-2500. That's 219-245-2500. Wake Forest football discussion is next. This is Snowman in the Morning. Don't go anywhere. LeBron strikes again when we come back from the break.
Mister, how do you operate this Twitter thing or this Instagram thing or whatever the heck? You're supposed to know all this stuff. Anyway, welcome back to the show.
Have you ever, my friend, seen a post on social media that just makes you go, oh, hell no?
I guess the question would be, how many times do I do it in a single day?
Yeah, that would cover it. That would cover it.
So what post made you feel this way? Hey, that's the truth.
Given what we do you hear me arguing to the contrary? Now, you know
Nope.
these youngins will argue to the contrary.
Mm-hmm.
Given what we do, and you especially.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, Lord. Forgot to say this. You can now text the show at 919-922-2256. That's 919-922-2256. Text the show. Let us know your thoughts. If you're watching on YouTube, give a like and subscribe to the channel. Okay. I must do this. I was going to spend a little bit more time on Korea. I honestly was.
Okay.
But I saw two things.
Two?
I saw two things.
Okay.
And Connor O'Neill just texted me, so he's going to ring in a few minutes. I saw this post that reads, quote, let me do it right, quote, LeBron could be the only NBA player ever to get players traded, fans ejected, and sports show hosts fired.
Oh, okay. Well, I have to admit, I don't disagree with that.
Well, I can't disagree with that either.
Okay. That made you say all age and all?
Yeah, because it's all true.
Okay.
Get the idea?
Mm-hmm.
Because it's all true, and we've seen it happen. No, change my sentence. Present tense. We're seeing it happen. We're seeing it happen. All right. Let's get off of that, and let's talk some Wake Forest athletics, in particular Wake Forest football, with Connor O'Neill. He joins me right now via the official car cleaning and detailing hotline. What's up, man? And congratulations on the ACC Division Championship.
Thanks. Just kind of taking it slow after a busy week with the championship game and evaluating the bowl.
How busy was that week from clinching to getting to Charlotte for the championship game?
Yeah, it was busy. I think I was on about 6 or 7 different podcasts and radios and trying to lock down. I mean, the easy part was you knew what the game was going to look like because Wake is so set in what they do and Pitt is so set in what they do. There were going to be no real surprises. It was just, let's see how it shakes out. And it shook out in Pitt's favor.
Yeah, it did. Pitt won the ACC, but talk about the play of Sam Hartman this year.
It was, overall, it was good. You try not to be a prisoner of what you saw last. And so the last time we saw Sam Hartman, he was picked off, 3 times in three straight possessions. He's got some flaws in his game. I think those were evident. But what quarterback doesn't have flaws, and what quarterback's flaws aren't exposed when you put pressure on him?
Yeah.
And for the most part, Wake was able to keep him clean, especially through the first 8 games. And that kind of faltered down the stretch when they started playing some teams that it's in their nature to blitz more and play aggressive. When you talk about Clemson and Pitt, and then they were able to get home against Wake. I mean, Wake was missing their starting center, and they had to reshuffle the interior of their line. They were healthy for the Pitt game, but Pitt, I mean, Pat Narduzzi's going to blitz the hell out of you.
Yeah.
And he's going to keep blitzing you and leave his corners on islands. And if you can't beat the corners, then you're going to get sacked. You're going to make rush decisions, and they speed you up, and they take advantage of it when you make mistakes.
Did that start when you say when you made a great point just a second ago, speeding the game up? Do you think that started with North Carolina?
Probably to some degree. You look at it even before, like the first half at Syracuse, Wake's offense was not clicking and Sam was not hitting his throws. The second half at Syracuse, he was able to correct it and was pretty good in the second half there, especially on the touchdown throw in overtime. The Army game, he was pretty flawless. The Duke game, he was flawless. The North Carolina game, he played really well. He made a couple mistakes that proved to be really costly. It's hard to say. I don't want to say you can't expect a quarterback to be that good throughout an entire season. I mean, Kenny Pickett was that good for the entire season.
Yeah.
Bryce Young got even better as the season went on.
True.
Like it's possible to stay that good. It's just a select few quarterbacks that are able to do it. And, Wake, I think it's safe to say Wake's quarterback wasn't, and Pitt's quarterback was, and that's why they're the conference champions.
What do you think down the stretch was the missing piece for Wake Forest pieces that prevented them from running the table?
Ooh, running the table. Well, you go back to their first loss. I mean, the biggest reason they lost the game at Carolina was they lost the 2 young cornerbacks in that game, Kalen Carson and Gavin Holmes. And that was the last we saw of Kalen Carson. He's been out with looks like an upper body injury, whether it's wrist or shoulder or elbow. We're not quite sure. But he's one of the best cover corners in the ACC. He was flying under the radar a little bit, but the advanced stats, the Pro Football Focus and all that stuff, it really bears it out that he is a integral part of the defense. And so you lose him. They played without Gavin Holmes in that NC State game. They were able to make do without him, and they had him back with a hard cast on his wrist. it's not like the defense would have been shutting people out down the stretch, but I really think their defense would have been a lot better if they had Kalen Carson. I get it. You're never going to get through a season completely healthy. You're going to have to deal with injuries, but if they've been able to sustain a little bit better with injuries, particularly on the defensive side, thinking about Nasir Greer, also the safety who only played in 6 games, and he only played in that 6th game in the ACC championship game. He got 4 snaps on Pitt's second series and was clearly not right and didn't play again. The last time he had a full season was 2019. He was I think, 2nd or 3rd team All ACC safety. I mean, he is a legitimate force of nature in the back end, and he's barely been able to play, I think, maybe 200 snaps this year.
Connor,
So those would have been key pieces.
Connor O'Neill joining us talking Wake Forest football. You get Texas A&M in the TaxSlayer.com Gator Bowl. What kind of challenges does A&M present to you?
A&M has 1,000-yard running back and 900-yard running back, and they're going to run the ball. And Wake this season has not been good against the run. I mean, it wasn't what crushed them against Pitt. They held up for the most part, especially after Pitt's first 2 drives against the run. But that's a Pitt team that only runs the ball out of necessity. It's not what they do. They want the ball in Kenny Pickett's hands. When Wake has played a team with a dangerous running attack that's committed to running the ball, they've struggled. They gave up 330 and 333 yards in their 2 regular season losses. And then in 2 road wins, the Syracuse game and the Army game, they gave up 354 and 419. In Army, yeah, that Army is going to run the ball about 95% of their plays, but still to give up 419 yards to a triple option offense that, I don't have the numbers off the top of my head, but I would wager in more than half of Army's games they didn't have 419 yards of total offense, just the way that they slow the game down.
And I watched that game. It was a pinball machine kind of game, 70 to 56. I still find myself watching highlights of that game. Connor O'Neill joining us to talk Wake Forest football. They get the TaxSlayer.com Gator Bowl against Texas A&M, and of course, Connor will be on with us for Wake Forest basketball as well. Always a pleasure to have you on, my man. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Brian. My pleasure.
Connor O'Neill joining us, and Cole, we talked about that Army game. I mean, 800 yards of offense, and it seemed like the game wouldn't end, wouldn't it? If you'd have told me that Wake Forest surrendered 56 points against Army, I'm thinking they blew them out. Nope. Won by 2 scores.
Yeah, it was a fantasy football player's dream.
Never was.
You would. If you were to hear a team giving up 56 points, you'd say, "Okay, well, they didn't show up that game." But no, they decided to put up 70 that same day. So, I look at it, from the standpoint, it seems like to me that Wake Forest like to play like a fast break style of play. And when you normally have that, you give your opponent extra opportunities to score. So,
yeah.
So I think that's what happened with Army. With Navy, and then that's what did them in when they played North Carolina.
Yeah, it really did. Yeah, Carolina ran the ball all over the place. Ty Ray, my good buddy out of Michigan, says nobody talks about an Army game. We do, especially when they lost 70 to 56. If y'all haven't had a chance, go check out Ty Ray TV on YouTube and give a sub to his channel. Much appreciated. We're going to take a break, and when we come back, I got a question of the day, and it deals with one of my favorite subjects, which is food. We're presented by Official Car Cleaning and Detailing. Isaac Moore is the man you need. Give him a call at 219-561-6645. And a week ago, I had a frog in my throat, and somehow I got my voice back. Don't ask me how I did that, because I can't even explain that miracle, and I don't want to explain that miracle. Back after this. So I just read something about the USFL coming back, and I see a couple of old logos. The Michigan Stallions, the Birmingham Stallions, I beg your pardon, and the Michigan Panthers. Wow. I kind of enjoyed that as I'm flipping through all my screens here. Text the show. Follow along with us at 919-922-2256. Got Chris Dietz coming at 10 minutes after the hour. Oh, they got all the logos here. New Jersey Generals, Houston Gamblers, New Orleans Breakers, Philadelphia Stars. And I used to cheer for the Philadelphia Stars and the Chicago Blitz because they played at Soldier Field. All right, time now for our question of the day, and I actually have two of them. First of all, how would you begin the first concerns food? If you had a choice, how would you begin your day? Pancakes or waffles? Me, pancakes.
I love them both, but pancakes for me too.
I gotta have my pancakes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. This was something. I mean, heck, every Saturday morning, Father would be cooking them. I'd smell them,
and it's a race to the kitchen.
Yeah, it's racing kitchen.
It's a race to the kitchen.
And I will say this on air. I envy very little. I am jealous of none. But the closest I became envious and jealous of anything was seeing how my father made pancakes. It looked like it was an art. Those things were made to perfection. And even to this day, I cannot make pancakes like he can.
Right.
But
it's fun trying though.
It is fun trying, and I can make a pretty mean one. But
Tyree says pancakes. Beautiful. That critical Broncos fan said, I just had pancakes. I love it. I had them this morning. Nice, that's what I love. That's what I love fixing for my wife. Some pancakes, and you know what else she loves me fixing? Scrambled eggs. I don't know why.
Yeah.
But I hated eggs once upon a time. I hated eggs. Now I can't get enough of them.
Yeah, mine's pretty good.
I can't get enough of them. I don't know why. I don't know how this change happened from my childhood to my adulthood, but I can't get enough of them. John Mysack on an earlier conversation we had about Carlos Correa. If I'm Houston, let him walk. Guys from championship level teams have some bad luck the following year. You can't say that about Carlos Correa. World Series 2 in the last 3 years. Hell with that. Now I will say they made a mistake in letting Springer walk, but Springer helped Toronto. Eat enough eggs and you'll be laying them. Shut up. Oh, it's true, though. Can't argue that. All right, and I said I had a double play for the question of the day. Now, this second one involves something I have been hooked on all my life, which is old game shows. Okay. Which one got you hooked? What was the first one that got you hooked? Because you already know my answer.
Let me see. I would love to say Price is Right, but it wasn't. Although I love the show.
Yes.
Love the show. Pressure Luck comes real close. But I think the game show that got me hooked was Tic Tac Toe.
Oh, dig it.
Mr. Wink Martindale. I just loved how he hosted shows.
That dragon used to piss me off.
Yeah. So yeah, it would be Tic Tac Toe, then it'd be the Joker's Wild.
Oh, see, I haven't told this story on air. I love Joker's Wild so much. My parents had an old Bissell sweeper with the orange top on the bottom of it. And I had a plastic bowling set that I got for Christmas one year. I took that bowling ball and stuck it on the top of the sweeper. And guess what I had? A one-armed bandit.
Oh, Lord.
Hey, ingenuity, okay? I nearly got my butt kicked for it, but...
I was going to say.
I nearly got...
But you almost paid for the ingenuity.
I nearly paid for it, but my dad said just take it off of there before you will pay for it. Tyree says $10,000 pyramid, any version of the pyramid. Joker's Wild. Yep. Love me some Joker's Wild. Y'all know what got me hooked. That was The Price is Right. Hey, that's the show I watch when I get sick back in the day. When you would come home before 10 a.m. Central Time, and I got to share this story too. When I was in the hospital in 2003, and I was a lot heavier than this for congestive heart failure, I was waiting for Price is Right to come on, and it didn't. Instead, I get the Critical Broncos fan says the original Press Your Luck. Oh, yeah. Oh,
Press
yeah.
Your Luck, yes.
Gotta have that.
Yep,
And I was waiting for Price is Right to come on, and I didn't see it. And I buzzed the nurse. I used that buzzer to death. Nurse comes rushing in, and she says, "What's wrong? I don't see Price is Right on my television. Fix it." Because it was something with Bush going on. We interrupt this program for this special announcement. You can't do that at 10 o'clock. Or as I'm on Eastern time zone now, 11 o'clock. You can't do that now. Eventually, I did get my prices right. Second half thereof.
Right.
I only do it for the ladies in the show. Shut up, Ty. But appreciate everybody being interactive with us. But what was the game show that got you hooked? Tweet the show. Price is Right. Heck, yeah, I'm not going to argue that statement. Especially growing up, can't argue that. Tweet the show at official SIT Morning. Let us know the game show that got you hooked. 1970s Match Game. There you go.
Oh, that's classic.
With Gene Rayburn. I watched some of those. I watched some of those today, and I still laugh out loud with some of the questions they ask.
Yeah,
you couldn't get away with that today in this too tight society.
It's amazing how that is. Yeah,
you couldn't get away with it. There you go, Ty. Let's make a deal.
That's another good one.
The original and the current one.
Yeah.
The original and the current one.
There's a couple ones. A couple other ones are like Card Sharks.
Oh yeah.
And Password.
Which one?
I love the rendition Before We Were Both Born. I got a chance to
the original.
Catch a few of those. Yeah, the original. Got a chance to catch a few of those types of episodes.
Yep.
I was like, man, that actually looked really good.
Yeah.
But I think there was a version that was around the time we just got into junior high. So that'll be about the mid '80s.
That's Password Plus. No, check that. Mid '80s. Talking 84, 85. That would be Super Password with Bert Convy.
Yeah. There we go.
That would be Super Password. Family Feud. There you go. The original version with Richard Dawson.
Richard Dawson, yes. Look, I love Steve Harvey, but
Richard Dawson was it for me for Family Feud.
Yeah, best host of that show.
Richard Dawson was it for me for Family Feud. You know which one my mother got me on? Name that tune. I wasn't a music buff to save my life, but my mother got me hooked on Name That Tune.
My mother did too. Yeah.
Oh, Lord. I wish they'd bring back the original Card Sharks. I'll host it. I'll host it with no problem. I'll host it with I can host any of these game shows. I just can't do Match Game for the simplest of reasons. If I get one of those double entendre questions, I will start laughing and I won't stop laughing. I won't stop laughing.
Oh gosh, that or if you have a Charles Nelson Riley figure on the panel. I knew you'd like that name
See,
reference.
Charles Nelson, you know what? Charles Nelson Riley and Brett Summers used to cause so much trouble.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? You would watch the show, and I know this is true with me. You would watch the show just to see what kind of trouble they'd get into.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You would watch the show to see what kind of banter they would have back and forth. There was one show I caught where the previous day Charles was out ill.
Mm-hmm.
And Gene said, how are you? Charles is much better today. And, you know, Brett Summers had to open her mouth, God rest her soul, when she said, if he doesn't feel good, why doesn't he go to a hospital or something? And Charles just jumps right in and says, because maybe the nurse would look like you. And I lost it. That's part of what sold the show, besides Gene's crazy butt.
Yeah.
He'd feed right in with them.
Now, I'll tell you a show that just makes me laugh, and it definitely would not work now. They tried it, but it was such a massive fail because it was so for its time, and that is the Gong Show.
Yeah. The one and only Chuck Barris.
Mm-hmm. I loved him as a host.
Yep. No, he was masterful as a host.
Mm-hmm.
He was masterful as a host.
Yeah.
And of course, there's one of the mainstays now, Wheel of Fortune.
Of course. My grandmother religiously watches that in Jeopardy.
You know what? My mother-in-law and my wife both watch Wheel of Fortune and Jeopardy.
Mm-hmm.
And whenever I throw a solution out there to a puzzle or an answer to a question on Jeopardy, they both just look at me.
Oh, no.
They just look at me with this shocked look of, how do you know this? And you just came downstairs. I just do. Mm-hmm. I don't know. And my wife teases me. She says, I told him he's the smartest man in the world. I said, I don't know what you're talking about. And she said, did you not just solve that puzzle? Yes. That Critical Broncos fan. Jeopardy is the thing with my household, with me and my family members. Yeah, same here.
Yeah.
Same here. That's why I stay up here in my office and hide. Because if I come down, those antenna microphones were the best. Yeah, they were.
Oh,
I always wanted one of those Bob Barker type of microphones.
Oh,
you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yes. I thought those were the coolest things. And now that I'm around mics, it's cool. I love the mics I have now, but
right,
man, I would love to roll on the road and have one of them antenna mics.
You too?
Yeah.
I saw an old NBA game on YouTube, and they had those antenna mics. Like, can I have one of those? Just as a birthday present? You're right, Ty. Those antenna microphones were the best. Oh, I would love to have one of those. All right. We got to take care of some more business. But before we go to the second half, visit Jaguar Land Rover of South Shore, or give them a call at 219-245-2500. That's 219-245-2500. And y'all can text the show at any time. The second half of Snowman in the Morning continues after this message. Welcome back. It is hour 2 thereof of Snowman in the Morning. Ty Ray says, love being here while I work. Well, we are glad to have you, Ty. We are absolutely glad to have you. Chris Dietz will be along in just a moment. Cole Johnson as well, as we will begin with the college football. We'll begin with the College Football Express, the Snowman in the Morning College Football Express here in just a moment as I bring Chris Dietz onto the line. And the playoff is set. But I don't like it. And good. Thank you, Ty. That Critical Broncos fan, please sub to his channel. Please subscribe to his channel as well as Tyray TV as well as this one. Yo, Deets, you're on the line. What's up, man?
Hey, what's going on, Snowman?
Okay, gentlemen. We highlighted this in the open. Chris, you and I talked about it yesterday. So why isn't Deets, go with your point yesterday. Why isn't Desmond Ridder being shown the Heisman red carpet?
Desmond Ridder is being the target for the fact that the elites, as we've talked about, the elites and the people that run college football.
Yep.
They were dragged kicking and screaming.
Yeah, they were.
Into putting Cincinnati into the college football playoff. That's evident by the fact that the only undefeated team in the country is the number 4 slot.
Yep.
You know, when Baylor beat Oklahoma State on Saturday, all the air went out of the room, and they said, "Well, we don't want anybody paying attention to Cincinnati and everything that's going on, so we're gonna pick all the guys that we want." And I mean, when you look at it, Bryce Young definitely deserving of it.
Yep.
Definitely deserving of it, and he probably won the award on Saturday.
Yeah.
He played against Georgia, and they're gonna play that up. I mean, they're gonna play up the drive against Auburn. They're gonna play up, all the yards he put up against Georgia. So they're gonna play that. Hutchinson. I mean, who else are you gonna put in there for Michigan?
Right.
You got to have a Michigan guy in there. But then you get to the rest of it, and you say, all right, well, who else has been big this season? And it makes no sense for everybody else that they invited. I mean, C.J. Stroud had one big game.
Mm-hmm. And that was Michigan State.
And that was Michigan State. And then Kenny Pickett. Kenny Pickett's been great. He's been good. But Pitt's played in the ACC, and they didn't play anybody all year.
Can you make that argument until the ACC championship? Because a lot of people will.
I won't even make that. I mean, Pitt was as much as that game. Pitt was the favorite in that game. I mean, as far as when I watched it, I picked Pitt to win, so it wasn't a shock to me that they won the ACC. I mean, it was just a down year for the ACC, and I made this point yesterday. I don't even think Kenny Pickett is the most deserving quarterback from the ACC to be in the Heisman. Because
what we discussed yesterday, Dietz, and Cole, I know you agree, and we had Connor O'Neill on earlier, that was Sam Hartman.
Yes. Sam Hartman was definitely more deserving of the Heisman Trophy in terms of the Heisman Trophy. Sam Hartman is more important to his team than what Kenny Pickett is. And this is not.
You can see that through the numbers. You can see it in the numbers.
Again, it's not a knock on Kenny Pickett. I've said it all year long. Kenny Pickett he's probably moved himself up to second, maybe third, maybe the third quarterback taken, might even be the might even be the number one overall pick in the draft. If things play out right.
Mm-hmm.
If he handles the process. But that's down the road. But that's what Kenny Pickett's done. Kenny Pickett's done a great job. But getting to the Heisman Trophy, when you have a guy like Desmond Ridder, who's done what Desmond Ridder's done all season.
Yep.
And I mean, you can go back and the other thing is they say they watch all these games. The Heisman voters don't watch all of them.
They don't.
I guarantee you they do. I guarantee you maybe. I guarantee you the bulk of the Heisman voters. I guarantee you the one game they watched was Cincinnati. Well, it was Cincinnati versus Houston.
Yeah.
Which, if you look at the game, and I made this point on Fifth Down Sports Show last night. Yes, the running back ran for 200 yards. But he had 3 runs of almost 70 yards each. And if you look at what that game came down to, it didn't come down to the running back taking over the game. When it was 14-13 in the second half, in the third quarter, when Cincinnati started to put their foot on the gas, what were they doing? They were throwing the football over the middle of the field.
Yep.
They were throwing the football to Pierce down the sideline.
Mm-hmm.
2 touchdown passes to Pierce. On fourth down, what did they do? Oh, they threw the ball. They threw the ball with Desmond Ridder on the run, where he had run-pass option.
Mm-hmm.
So to sit there and say, well, I watched Cincinnati, and we watched Cincinnati, and the running back was the running back was more the focal point. No, if you watch the important parts of that game, no. Desmond Ridder had the ball in his hand, and then they started to take over, and then they said, you know what, we're just going to run the ball and get out of here.
Yeah, and they read it. They read it that way after it was 14-13 at the half. Cole, let me get your thoughts on this, and I know you said it earlier in the program, but it bears repeating. Desmond Ridder had the ball and the game in his hands the entire game against Houston.
Yeah, and I think what you're seeing is if you put Desmond Ridder on Michigan or on Georgia or on Alabama, the same thing that he did against Houston, that would be considered a Heisman Trophy moment.
Yeah.
If he played on any one of those 3 teams at any juncture and time. And
right.
That is what is so frustrating about this whole experience. If you're going to have these programs who are in the non-Power 5 conferences play Power 5 conference teams and they win, you have to reward them with the effort. If they put forth good games against these teams and they are ranked in the top 25, you have to say this is a quality college football player.
And they won't do it. They haven't. In the years that I've watched college football, and Dietz, I know you echo this, in the years I've watched college football, more often than not, I'm not saying it happens all the time. I offer the example of Bo Jackson. They don't do it. More often than not, they don't do it.
I mean, people want to talk about Heisman moments and all of that stuff.
Right.
In South Bend, Indiana, on a cold night, the Jerome Ford, who everybody said, oh, they've got this great running back. Jerome Ford had all of 67 yards.
Yep.
Meanwhile, Desmond Ridder was 19 of 32 for 302 touchdowns.
So 302 touchdowns
against a team that ended up in the top 5.
Mm-hmm. So 302 touches gets trumped. Oh, let me change that. 302 touches in South Bend gets trumped. Right? Am I reading this right?
It's what we've been talking about all, and I mean we can take credit for this because I know I listened to the show just a couple days ago from last week.
Mm-hmm.
Talked about it. I told y'all during the broadcast they weren't going to bring up the Heisman Trophy one bit, and they didn't.
You said that. You absolutely said it, and you nailed it. They did not discuss Desmond Ridder or the Heisman once
because they don't want any. It's the elites and it's the people that watch college football. That we talked about this yesterday. The people that vote for the Heisman, it's gotten so out of hand.
Yeah,
with how many people actually have a Heisman vote. It's why, and we can talk about awards all we want, but it's why I respect the Major League Baseball Hall of Fame, because it's such a tight-knit group. It's so hard to get a Hall of Fame vote for the Major League Baseball Hall of Fame. That's why it's important when people are Hall of Famers in baseball. Because it's hard to do. When you have so many people voting for the Heisman Trophy, and we talked about it yesterday, Dan Le Batard's father has a Heisman vote.
Yeah.
Why?
Just for watching. And he used to joke about that.
This is how crazy it's gotten. But you have people who are and I guarantee you, like I said before, the one game they watched was Cincinnati versus Houston.
Yeah.
They didn't watch Cincinnati play Tulsa. They didn't watch Cincinnati play Tulane and have Desmond Ridder have to lead a drive. They talk about
have Desmond Ridder in a position to put the game away.
They talk about Bryce Young's Heisman moment. When he led the drive. How about Desmond Ridder's Heisman moment when he was against Tulane and they were tied and he leads the team down the field for the game-winning score?
Mm-hmm.
How about a Heisman moment on 4th and 3, 14-13 against Cincinnati, and he throws a bullet pass to Aaron Pierce in the end zone?
Yeah.
I mean, this is what the elites wanted. They don't want.
Like I said, it's a heist.
They don't want any eyes on They don't want any of the eyes toward Cincinnati as we enter this playoff. Now,
it's like I said, it's a heist. It's like I titled it yesterday. For those of you who watched the show yesterday, and Dietz jumped on with me to start the second half, and Cole, let me hear your thoughts. It's a heist. It's a heist.
And they don't even make it. They don't even hide it. I mean,
no, they don't.
It is apparent that when it comes to the NCAA, what drives them is money. Whatever they feel and whoever they deem is the one that pulls the purse strings. That's who gets the attention, and it trickles down from conferences to program to athlete.
Mm-hmm.
And you're seeing what moves the needle for them, and what moves the needle for them is the programs that they feel the populace wants to see, and so
the elites, as Dietz referred to, the elites.
Yes. So if a player does absolutely phenomenal, but they aren't in a Power 5 conference, they could care less. And
Desmond
you can
Ridder.
see it, and you know it, and that's what's so frustrating about it. But we can have a defensive lineman from Michigan be a Heisman Trophy candidate, and basically he had a decent season, but not one of those. Oh wow!
Not one of those groundbreaking seasons.
Yeah, Yeah, not one of those. Oh wow, man, he is someone. He is must see TV every time I see Michigan takes the field in defense type of player.
Mm-hmm. And
So you
I'm
have
not.
him
And I hate to
over
say
a
this.
Desmond Ritter.
And I hate to say this about him, Aiden Richardson, but I didn't see a game with him in it where he took over. Am I reading this wrong, gentlemen? I didn't see anything that.
The game that you would probably say is the high watermark game for Michigan would of course be the home game against Ohio State. He had a couple sacks in that.
Yep.
But he wasn't the only one that was getting down on the Michigan defensive side of the ball.
Right.
So it wasn't to me like, oh man, from the first quarter to fourth quarter, man, they keep saying this guy's name.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't like that.
You look at when his sacks came in that game.
Yeah.
This is people looking at a game and basically saying, here's the stat line of the game, and not looking at the game how it actually played out. Because his sacks didn't come until they were blowing out Ohio State, and Ohio State had to pass.
Right.
Right.
It was at the point where Ohio State wasn't going to run the football at all.
So those sacks were situational.
He can basically just pin his ears back and say, I'm going to the quarterback, and if they run by me, who cares?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I listened to every second of that game. That's exactly how it happened.
Mm-hmm.
So it's situational, and I have to say I love that a defensive player is actually up there. But
right.
Again,
I do too.
When you look at Michigan, who else were you going to put up there?
Right.
I mean,
Right.
The only other chance you have is Hassan Haskins,
Mm-hmm.
Right.
who split time with the real star of the team, as we talked about last night. The real star of the team is number 2.
Yep.
Blake I'm blanking on his name because he's a freshman and he's only played half the season.
Right.
But I mean, it just goes to show you they don't want you to focus on Cincinnati. They don't want you. It's like they went in kicking and screaming. They got dragged in kicking and screaming, and that's how they ended up there. But to not to
It's like they said. It's like, Chris, you said it best. They were dragged in kicking and screaming. And it's like the committee said, well, we have to put them in. And I was waiting for an excuse for them to still be out. You know, I was waiting for that excuse to come. It didn't come. I'm glad about that. But you saw the reluctance. You felt the reluctance for them to put Cincinnati in. You felt the reluctance when they revealed Cincy at the number 4 spot.
And I mean, getting in at the 4, and we can talk about the rankings and how they put together this Final Four group.
Mm-hmm.
We said I told you I told you last week, and I said it on the show last night. I've been saying it all year. They weren't going to do the only reason they put the teams in the way that they are is that they wanted to set up that Big Ten SEC game.
Yeah.
They wanted to ensure that they got that game in.
Mm-hmm.
So in order to, they had to manipulate it in order for that to work. And that's the weird thing, because when you look at the games from Saturday, there's really no reason why Alabama jumped all the way up to number 1.
No, I can't find a reason either.
You watch what Michigan, if Michigan was 2 going in and doing what they did to Iowa in the Big Ten championship game,
And they didn't move.
you would have thought, hey, they're going to move up to number 1. Alabama will move up to 2. But they didn't do that.
Nope. They move Bama up. They move Bama up to number one. It's the elite's philosophy, Chris, like you said.
Here's how they rationalize that. So they would consider Alabama's victory over Georgia to be the biggest victory any team has ever had in this year's run.
Right.
It's just since this team beat the number one team in the country, they have to be the best team in the country by default. And
sometimes I hate those two words, by default. Sometimes I hate those two words.
Mm-hmm. That's how I know how they would describe it and justify it. And I've said this to you, how I see it. They wanted to do three things, and Chris touched on one of them. They wanted to have a Big Ten SEC matchup in the national semifinal. They wanted to make sure that Alabama and Georgia would not play in the national semifinal. So if Alabama would be 1, Georgia would be 3. If Alabama was 2, then Georgia would be 4. But the third reason is basically why you did not have Michigan move up to number 1 and Alabama move up to number 2. They wanted to keep Cincinnati number 4.
And that's as far as Cincy would have gone. On the final rankings, that's as far as Cincinnati would have gone. Even though Cincinnati was up at 2 for 3 weeks, I believe 3 weeks, they were up at number 2. And
and through no reason of their own, they slide down.
They slide down to 4. That critical Broncos fan, those words together were like nails on a chalkboard to me as well. Exactly. They want Alabama and Georgia to play for the national championship. That's how I'm looking at it. They want a rematch.
And right now, all we have to hope for, and we'll get into this as we get closer to the game. But all we have to hope for is a Boise State, Oklahoma type Fiesta Bowl.
That would be great.
Yeah,
I would love it. That'd be great.
With the Statue of Liberty, to
win the game.
With some kind of something like that would just completely throw this whole thing into
chaos,
into a tizzy, and see
into chaos.
But at least they have the option. At least they have the chance. And this is going to be, this is going to be the. But we've said it all year long. If you fast forward a year from now, we're not even talking about this because Cincinnati is going to be treated like the team that they are because they're in the Big 12.
And Cole, it goes back to your point that you made that very point this morning. If Cincinnati was already in the Big 12, then Desmond Ridder would have a red carpet treatment in New York as a Heisman candidate because he's in the Big 12.
He'd be headed to the athletic club. Yes. That is how messed up this is.
Yeah, it's backwards. It's absolutely backwards. We're coming up against the break, but that's Chris Dietz as he joins every week for the College Football Express. And we are counting you down to the national championship, which will be in Indianapolis, Indiana. And maybe old Snowman and wife will be there to take it all in. We'll see what happens. Thanks a lot, Dietz. Appreciate the time, and thanks as always.
All right, thanks, guys. Have a good one. We'll do it all next week when we see what award.
You too, Chris.
The elites, it's the haves versus the have-nots. And it's nerve-wracking to me.
In living color, yeah.
It's the haves versus the have-nots. And I brought up a quarterback from 1984 in which BYU won the national championship with this quarterback. His name, Robbie Bosco. Did he get a red carpet treatment?
Not even close.
Nope. Did BYU get a red carpet treatment because they were declared the national champions? No. They wanted Miami or Nebraska. And Miami got their ass kicked by Maryland. No, Miami lost to Maryland in a game where they led 31-0.
Mm-hmm.
It's the SE. You know what? Cool McCain said the same thing that we have been saying. It's the college football playoff is a joke. It's the SEC and 2 at-large teams. Trisha Bray Smith checking in. Greetings. Good to see you doing your thing. Thank you, my dear. Appreciate it. It's the SEC and 2 at-large teams.
Basically.
And it's been that way since they formed the thing.
Mm-hmm.
It's been that way since they formed it because the Mississippi teams were leading the very first college football playoff. Mississippi and Mississippi State for about 4 weeks were 1-2 before they played the Egg Bowl and before Mississippi State lost twice and then Mississippi won the Egg Bowl.
Mm-hmm.
As I always say, find the lie.
A lot of people have said that seemingly the college football playoff is nothing more than the SEC Invitational.
That's it. That's it. I mean, have we not seen it every year? Want to go back 3?
Yeah.
Want to go back 3 years? Want to go back 3 years? Baker Mayfield makes the right throws. They wallop Georgia in the Rose Bowl.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
They led on 3 occasions. Oklahoma led by 2 scores. They led by 2 scores.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, Baker Mayfield crumbled down the stretch. Georgia was allowed to come back, tie the game. Hell of a game. Don't get it twisted. Hell of a game. Hell of a game.
Was a great game. Mm-hmm.
But this is why Baker Mayfield is regressing right before our eyes in Cleveland. He does not know how to close games.
Well.
Can I get a witness? I said this at the top of the NFL season that Baker Mayfield was going to regress. Now, I coupled Lamar Jackson into it, but Lamar Jackson made a liar out of me for a little while. McCain says, to be more precise, Alabama, another SEC team, and 2 at-large bids. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because except for 1 year, which was 2000, was it 13? I think except for 1 year, Alabama's always been in the playoff. It's like they can cruise through the regular season and then they find themselves in the playoffs. I've said this about Baker. Listen, I will tell y'all, besides Oklahoma getting whipped by Georgia in the final 3 periods of that Rose Bowl and the 2 overtimes, the game where I saw Baker Mayfield regress instead of progress is the game 2 years ago at San Francisco. Baker Mayfield, and I think that was the first or second week that OBJ was on the field with Cleveland.
Did they even?
They threw Baker Mayfield threw. They had a trick play, and it didn't work because the receiver had his hands out of bounds, had his feet out of bounds. I beg your pardon.
Mm.
And then Nick Bosa and company went to work.
Didn't all they managed in that game was a field goal?
31-3.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Yeah, that was horrible.
31-3. And since that game, except for a magical run to the playoffs last year, Baker Mayfield has not gotten better. Matter of fact, I'm going to go to a break, and it's presented by Jaguar Land Rover, and I'm going to send an email on that subject. Cool McCain says testify. I'm going to testify via email. This portion brought to you in part by Jaguar Land Rover South Shore. Call 219-245-2500 or visit jlrsouthshore.com. Want to sponsor this show? Drop an email to snowmaninthemorning@gmail.com. That's snowmaninthemorning@gmail.com. You want to get your business out there? That's where you reach me. Back in a flash.
Mister? How do you operate this Twitter thing or this Instagram thing or whatever the heck? You're supposed to know all this stuff. Anyway, welcome back to the show.
Down the stretch we come. Text the show at 919-922-2256. Piece of news that just came across my desk. Pat McAfee has a 4-year deal with FanDuel. I'm so happy for him and the way he built his show. And all I got to say is, we're
Good
next.
job, Pat.
We're next. Don't believe me? Keep watching. Thanks to everyone that's been interactive with us today. And let me send a special shout to all of my homies at The Inscriber Magazine. It is celebrating its 9th birthday today. 9 years ago, December 9, 2012, The Inscriber Magazine came into being. My homie Robert Cobb and the rest of the bunch there doing an awesome job. And they're one of the folks that carry this show. So thank you for that. Now, I promised that I would send an email to Baker Mayfield and Baker Mayfield fans. Here it is. Email Baker Mayfield. CC Baker Mayfield supporters. Subject of email. He ain't it.
He still
Body
ain't.
of email. So, Baker Mayfield got in the playoffs last year. Fine, great. Who cares? Why do I say that? I had a simple request of one Baker Mayfield as a fan, and I said my congratulations to Cleveland for getting in the playoffs last year. Now, there's one thing they needed to do. Do it again. That's all. Do it again. And I think my partner and many other people that have a critical eye on watching sports, many an analyst that have a critical eye, sees the same thing I do. Baker Mayfield has regressed, even with the playoff appearance. You know what got him in the playoffs last year? A running game. You know what cost him last year? They underestimated Chad Henne on 4th and 2. And what do you think has happened this year? Right down the toilet.
What makes this even worse? The Browns supposedly on paper had the most talent in the AFC North. And I actually said before the season began, if the Browns did not win the AFC North, they should consider this season a failure.
Mm-hmm.
Period. Because there should be no excuse for them to be where they are.
Would you repeat that again, please? I want to be sure I heard that correctly and that Browns fans hear this correct. Would you repeat that again, please?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I actually said this to a Browns fan. I said, the Browns on paper supposedly have the best talent and the most talent in the AFC North. And I said, for this year, if the Cleveland Browns do not win the AFC North, they should consider 2021 a failure. That is even if they make the playoffs as a wild card. They should consider this season a failure. Yeah.
So, to me, not only is this an absolute failure, and a lot of people are going to come at me about this, but I don't care. The Cleveland Browns should consider this season a colossal failure, part one. And part two, with Cleveland languishing at 6-6 in the bottom of the division, yeah, they're 2 games behind Baltimore, but Baltimore is about to run away with the thing. Cincinnati is going to get pounded this Saturday night. Lord only knows what Pittsburgh's going to do.
And they've already given the game to each the Ravens and the Steelers this year.
Yep. So, what's so impressive about the playoffs last year? What's so impressive about the playoff last year?
What sucks now is that it seems to be more of an indictment against the Steelers and how they were ill-prepared versus the Browns and how they were.
Yep.
In January.
Yep. Big time indictment. I'm looking at the AFC North standings right now, and Cleveland is 6-6. Let me say that again. 6-6 for a team that supposedly had the most talent in the AFC North. Doesn't that seem a little fishy to you? Because this seems fishy to me. It certainly seems fishy to me.
Oh, you want to direct that to one person, don't you?
I'm going to direct that to a lot of people.
Oh, okay.
This is fishy. Listen to me carefully, Baker Mayfield and Cleveland fans. You're at the bottom of the division with a 500 record. This is fishier than a pound of catfish. If Baker Mayfield was supposed to take a step forward, he sure doesn't look like it. Find the lie. He sure as hell doesn't look like it.
It's messed up when you hear people say that the team is winning in spite of him instead of because of him. And you've heard that more and more as this year's progressed.
I mean, Sunday Night Football in Baltimore, a chance to take advantage of not 1, not 2, not 3, not 4, but 5 Baltimore turnovers. 5 of them.
That was inexcusable. That was inexcusable.
And they did nothing.
That was wholly inexcusable.
So why are the Browns held in high regard? Even with Baker Mayfield as their quarterback, and I expect that to change within the next 2 years. That critical Broncos fan said, I never bought into Mayfield in Cleveland once, nor did I. Baker Mayfield will be gone in 2 years. Within 2 years, he will not be their starting quarterback anymore. It's time to go to another direction because Mayfield ain't it. You can look at all the stats and the numbers that you want, and that critical Broncos fan said, I saw nothing from last year that convinced me they were even close to contention. Me neither, because my partner said it best. The Steelers were ill-prepared to blow out the Browns, which they should have. They should have treated the Browns like they've always treated the Browns in its original format. 2 free wins every year. 3 if they sneak in the playoffs. They didn't do that.
No.
They did not do that.
No. So, they got on the field and played the worst quarter, talk about the Steelers, of their year in that particular game.
And surrendered 28 first-quarter points in 12 minutes.
Yeah.
First snap of the game should have told you how that game was going to go. And for a while, it looked like Kansas City was ill-equipped to deal with Cleveland, but they dealt with them. If Kansas City can get by dealing with Cleveland the way that they did, why couldn't the Browns do it? And more to the point, why don't the Browns lean on their running game instead of leaning on Baker Mayfield? See, this reminds me... You want this one? Take it. Take it.
It is inexcusable when you have the studs in the backfield, such as Kareem Hunt and Nick Chubb. Your defense responds to when they have good games. Your offensive line blocks better when they have good games. But for some odd reason, I have no idea why, you want to put the game in the hands of number 6. And he is best served as making a couple of plays or so in the game, play action, and he has to turn around and hand the ball off to number 27 or number 24. That is when he is at his best. Any other scenario where you have Mayfield do anything for your team and you're sunk.
Doesn't that kind of remind you of a certain team?
I'm going to anger you for a second. That's how people regard Jimmy Garoppolo.
Oh, true. Oh, that's not that. Hey, you're not angering me with that statement. It's what I've had to hear since Garoppolo signed with the 49ers.
Mm-hmm.
It's what I've had to hear since Garoppolo signed with San Francisco. That's not angering me. What angers me is that people still believe it.
Mm-hmm.
Garoppolo and Mayfield are on two different levels. And for those of you on the television feed, Garoppolo's up here, Mayfield's down here. People want to say that Garoppolo has regressed. No. 3 of the last 4 years, Garoppolo and company have had to deal with a follow the bouncing ball litany of injuries, this year included. Mayfield's just regressed.
It is bad when you see him throw for nearly 300 yards and you automatically say, oh, the Browns lost the game.
Yep.
I mean, you immediately think that.
You immediately say it. And 9 times out of 10, it proves true. It proves true.
Mm-hmm.
Tomorrow, I'll touch on Garoppolo with an email, but this is about Baker Mayfield today. Cleveland Browns, it's time to move on from Baker Mayfield. When are you going to admit to yourselves that this is a pick that didn't work overall? When are you going to admit to yourselves that a couple of games were a flash in the pan? See, as I said last segment before we went to break, and I'll say it again, the one game for me that identified Mayfield's regression was the game 2 years ago in San Francisco, when supposedly they had more talent than the 49ers, and the 49ers punched them in the mouth and kicked them in the gut by a tune of 31-3. And Mayfield was outperformed by Garoppolo, who threw the ball less times, had less yards than Mayfield, and yet he leaned on his team to make the correct plays. Let me say that again. He made the correct plays.
That's the difference right there. That's the difference right there. I've always said, if a quarterback understands the role he plays on the team, he does not try to do over and above and beyond what he needs to do.
Exactly.
If he can basically read the room and understand, oh, the running game's cooking. Well, heck, I don't need to throw so much. That is what you want your quarterback to assess when he's on the field as you're going in the game. Instead, Mayfield has this chip on his shoulder. He feels as though he just needs to prove that he has the quintessential tools necessary to win, and it's costing his team games. And that is the downfall of the Browns right now. That philosophy right there.
Is it sad for me to say that the Browns haven't had a quality quarterback since Bernie Kosar?
No, because you'd be truthful. I mean, they have not had a quality quarterback in 30 years. Yes.
Same with the Dolphins since Dan Marino. Same with the Broncos since John Elway or Peyton Manning. Manning was on the tail end of his career, so that kind of washes itself out.
Right. You scrap those 4 years he was with the Broncos. Yeah, they haven't had a quality quarterback since Elway. But no, you would not be wrong. I mean, the Browns, this is how horrible it's been. So the Browns have been back in Cleveland since 1999. So that's about, 22 years now?
Yep.
They have had, if I'm not mistaken, like 26 different quarterbacks start for them.
Yes.
That is how bad it has been for them.
A revolving door, just like their executive department. A revolving door.
You just dropped the mic right there because you're right about that.
It's a revolving door. Don't you all get that? It's a revolving door of executives, a revolving door of coaches, because Kevin Stefanski can only do what Baker Mayfield allows him to do, not the other way around. And for those of you that want to come after me about Kyle Shanahan, shut your mouth right now. I'll answer that tomorrow. It's a revolving door of coaches. It's a revolving door of players. It's a revolving door of quarterbacks. I already mentioned the executives, so I don't need to mention that anymore. But as I said, it's time to move on.
Unfortunately, it's not a revolving door of expectations in Cleveland.
Sincerely, Brian Snow, CEO, SDM Sportsnet, host, Snowman in the Morning, in proud association with Cole Sports, with a Z. Send.
Beautifully done, sir. Beautifully done, sir.
You know, and sometimes I wish Cleveland would have the same would have had the same bad luck that the 49ers had with all the injuries, but you can't say that.
No.
You can't say that.
No, they just had bad luck with the bad choices they have made.
Mm-hmm. And all those bad choices is going to cost them because they're going to have to clean house again, including Stefanski. And Stefanski is going to ride on last year for getting the did I touch a nerve? They're going to ride on Stefanski for getting the Browns to the playoffs and breaking a jinx in a pandemic season.
That's what sucks about the whole thing. This guy could be an up-and-comer in terms of a head coach turning around a bad situation.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
But it's like he is climbing uphill still because there's still too many obstacles in his way.
Yep. And I know the next question everybody's going to ask me, well, can't you say the same thing about Kyle Shanahan? No.
No, because
Kyle Shanahan's just had bad luck with injuries. 3 of the 4
Shanahan
years.
Shanahan and Lynch are in sync, and so is Shanahan and Garoppolo. So there's no problem there. Correct me if I'm wrong, sir.
Okay. I'm busy trying to find the lie. I'm using my tablet. I'm using my phone, and I don't see any.
That's what I thought.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong. 3 of the last 4 years, the Niners were just bitten with injuries. They have been through a litany of injuries that you won't believe in 3 of the last 4 seasons. The only season they didn't was 2019, and they had injuries then too. But they were so deep and so healthy in 2019, they navigated through it.
Deep. Yeah, they were deep in talent in 2019.
And
that's the main difference.
And they're trying to rebuild that.
Mm-hmm.
And they're going to. Okay? Unlike y'all, I believe in this team. When they cleaned house and brought in John Lynch and brought in Kyle Shanahan, those are 2 of the best moves they made since hiring Bill Walsh and promoting George Seifert. They got it right. I better stop because if I go any further, I'm going to wind up sending another email, and I want to save all that for tomorrow. Follow the show at official SITM on Facebook, Instagram, Pinterest, and Twitter. Subscribe to us on YouTube. Today's show, copyright 2021, Brian Snow Media and Cole Sports. And I'm really hoping you bring back the awards for next year. because
Yeah.
I want to host them again.
Yeah, it was good. It was good to hear you get your Rod Roddy on, and just for that, I do want to do it again.
If you don't know what the award's about, we'll talk about it tomorrow before we go to halftime. Until tomorrow, have a great day. God bless. Remember to make your next move your best move. And always remember, if your dreams don't scare you, then they are not big enough. Dream big, do bigger. We are, and we hope y'all are too. Snowman in the morning.